Hey everybody, it's James here from GoodGuitarist.com, and in today's lesson, I'm going to show you how to play Good Riddance, also known as Time of Your Life by Green Day. And this one's really cool because it just uses 4 chord shapes, and we can do this like 2-finger trick where we leave down 2 fingers the entire time, and we just have to move our other 2 fingers. So this is a really beginner-friendly song. For the more intermediate players out there, there's some picking things that we can take a look at where we're picking individual strings. There's a couple strumming patterns in this one. So, it's a simple song, but there's also some other stuff going on. If along the way you find that you need any extra help, I have a free ebook. It's completely free for all my subscribers that goes over all the basics of rhythm guitar, the chords and switching and all that stuff. So please check that out. I'll put a link to that in the corner. Otherwise, let's get started with the chord shapes. First, we have a G chord. And for that one, I'm doing it with these 2 fingers on top, and then my index and middle are playing the 3rd fret of the thickest string, and then the 2nd fret of the next string. And our next chord shape is C add 9. And to make that shape, all we have to do is take these 2 fingers and move them down by 1 string. And I like to put my middle finger a little bit higher, so that it lightly touches the underside of the thickest string, which mutes it. And I would start with that, just switching between G and then C add 9. Just doing that a few times, just getting used to those 2 fingers moving. And then the next chord is D sus4, and for that one, we can just move those 2 fingers over again, and we don't even need our middle finger. So it's just our index finger. It's on the 2nd fret of the G string. And for that one, I like to put my thumb lightly touching the thickest string to mute it. These little touches, like muting the excess strings, that's what gets you sounding good on guitar, because that doesn't sound as good as that, right? So, take the time to do it, but if it's too much, don't worry about it. You don't have to mute the excess strings at this point. Anyways, that's our D sus4 chord, and finally we have E minor 7, and for that one, we just play an E minor chord with these 2 fingers. If you're not familiar with that, our first finger goes on the 2nd fret of the A string, and our middle finger just underneath it. Now, before we move on and learn the strumming pattern, let's take a moment with those chord shapes. We're going to play through the verse using downstrokes only. It uses the G, C, and D chords. We don't even have to use the E minor one yet. And this is a really good opportunity to get used to moving those 2 fingers. We're starting on G. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, switch to C, 2, 3, 4. D, 2, back to G, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, 4. C, D, 2, 3, 4. And now we'll add a strumming pattern to that. It's the most common strumming pattern ever. It goes like this. I'll do it slowly. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and miss and 4 and I have a separate lesson where we go over this strumming pattern in depth, but let's take a moment right now to work it out. We're going to break it down into 2 parts. First, we have down, down, up. 3, 4. Down, down, up. 3, 4. So a downstroke on beat 1, a down, up, treating it like a single entity, a down, up on beat 2, and then we're counting 3, 4 out loud. So I want you to practice it just like I showed you, playing down, down, up, counting 3, 4. That way we're working on it in like a 4-beat group, which is how the song goes. And when you're good with that, the second half, it goes 1, 2, miss, up, down, up. So we're missing the strings on beat 3. We're still doing a downstroke to keep our arm moving down and up the whole time, like a built-in metronome. We miss the strings on beat 3, and then we go up, down, up. And I want you to practice it like this. 1, 2, miss, up, down, up. 1, 2, miss, up, down, up. Over and over again. Work on each half, counting and taking the time to, work it out nice and slow. And when you're ready, we put it together, nice and slow. 3, 4, down, down, up, miss, up, down, up. It helps if you say the pattern too. Miss, up, down, up, miss, up, down, up. So I want you to do that over and over again until you're comfortable with it, and then we can add it to our chord progression from the verse, starting on G. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, down, up, miss, up, down, up. Switch to C and D. Again. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. Cool, so that's the verse. Now we're going to take a look at the pre-chorus, and we're going to be starting on that E minor 7 chord. So we have our E minor 7 chord. Let's do downstrokes only, working out the chord progression, then we'll add the strumming pattern, just like we did for the verse. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. C. Same thing again. E minor. Switch to D. Going to C. And G. So we're kind of going through the chord shapes backwards. You know, for the verse, we were going G, C, D. Now in this one, we go E minor, D, C, G. So we're going backwards through those 3 chords. So this is a great song for really learning to make those switches both ways, you know. Anyways, take your time with those chord switches, you know, go through that as many times as you need to, and then we can add our strumming pattern to that. 1, 2, 3, 4. The only section left is the chorus, and the chorus is actually pretty easy. It's just E minor, G, E minor, G, E minor, D. So let's just try it with the strumming pattern right away. 1, 2, 3, 4. Predictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. All right, so that's everything that you need to play this song in a simple way. And if this is good for you, you can skip ahead and take a look at the chord order for the entire song. Otherwise, we're going to take a minute right now and we're going to do some things to take this from a super beginner friendly tune and make it sound a bit more like the original recording. The first thing I want to do is swap out the D sus4 chord for the D chord. So anytime that we were doing this shape, we're just going to do the D shape instead. The next thing I want to do is take our strumming pattern and add some arpeggiation to it. And that means we're going to pick some individual strings. So instead of going, we're going to go. The motion is still the same. We're still going down, down, up, miss, up, down, up. But some of those downs and ups, instead of strumming all the strings, we're just going to pick a single string. On our G chord here, for the very first downstroke on beat 1, instead of strumming all the strings, I'm just going to hit the thicker strings. Then on beat 2, that downstroke, I'm going to strum through all the strings, and then I'm going to go up just on the B string. So down, up. Just take a minute with just that motion, going down and then up on just the B string. Then for miss, up, you know, since we're making such small motions, our miss is literally just a tiny little downstroke, and then we're going to go up on the G string. And then finally, for the down up, a down through the middle strings, so kind of through there, and then an up on the G string again. So try it in those 4 parts. Root, just the thicker strings, then down, up, on the B string, then miss, up on G, and then a down on the middle strings, and then up on G again. And when you put it all together, 3 and 4 and. And it doesn't really matter what strings you're picking, to be completely honest. You know, if you went like, it still sounds great. You know, there I was picking the high E string and the B string instead of B and G. You know, it's all about just making the right size of motions. And as far as when to use that pattern, we'll discuss it when we go over how to put the entire song together. But basically you use it for the beginning of the song and at the very end of the song. And then in the middle of the song, we do a completely different strumming pattern that goes like this. And that is a double length strumming pattern. You know, it's twice as long as what we were doing before, and it fits over 2 measures. So we're gonna have to be switching chords during this strumming pattern at certain points of the song. So let's discuss all that. First, we're gonna learn the pattern by dividing it into 2 parts. The first half goes root, down, up, down. So a root on beat 1, a down on beat 2, then we miss on beat 3 and go up, down into beat 4. Root, down, miss, up, down. You know, it has some elements of the pattern that we already learned. It's basically like we just took a few strokes out of that pattern. And root just means hitting the thicker strings. So let's just take a minute with that, going root, down, miss, up, down, 1, 2, 3, 4, root, down, miss, up, down, 1, and just do that over and over again like that. And then the second half of this pattern goes 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and we'll break this up even further. We'll start by going 3 and 4, and 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2. You know, it's a bit of syncopation. That's where we have lots of off beats, you know, lots of upstrokes without the downstrokes. And all we have to do is add up, down, up at the end, you know, the usual miss, up, down, up, and we get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and miss, up, down, up, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, up, down, miss, up, down, up, 1, 2, 3, 4, up, down, miss, up, down, up. So practice it just like that, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, up, down, miss, up, down, up. You know, even saying what I just said a whole bunch of times will help you get the feeling of this strumming pattern. And then we'll put that together with the first half, and we end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, root, down, up, down, miss, up, down, up, root, down, up, down, miss, up, down, up. And when you listen to the recording, he actually changes strumming patterns like every single measure, but this is kind of the guideline. You know, he generally comes back to this one, but when you listen to the recording, you're like, hey, I don't hear this exact pattern. It's because there is no exact pattern. He plays it differently like every single time. You know, it's always like 1 or 2 upstrokes or downstrokes here and there. Anyways, when we take this pattern and add it to our progression, in the verse, for example, we start out with 2 measures of G. So this pattern covers both measures of G. But in the next 2 measures, we have C and D, 1 measure each. And we would divide it like this. So I played the C chord for the first half, root, down, up, down, and then I switched to D and I went up, down, miss, up, down, up. So just take a look at that. Take a look, take some time, work your way through it at your own pace. You know, it doesn't matter. You don't have to get it up to speed yet. I just want you to get through the motions. And we're also going to do this for a few other switches. We're going to do it from E minor to D. And then from C to G. And finally, from E minor to G. And those are all of the switches throughout the entire song that you would have to practice. So I recommend taking some time with those 4 switches, you know, and once you're good with that, that's it. That's all we have to do to play through the entire tune. Now, when it comes to assembling the song, we start off with an intro, which is just the chords from our verse. Then we have a verse, pre-chorus, chorus. And then there's an interlude, and it's the same thing as the intro, but we have to call it an interlude because it's in the middle of the song. It's just an instrumental verse. Verse, pre-chorus, chorus. And now here we're going to play verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then an interlude, a chorus, and then a verse, and that's it. So take a look at it all here. And if you want to play it in the simple way, you just use the chords that I showed you, the strumming pattern that I showed you, start to finish, there you go. But if you want to add that extra stuff to it, the intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, for that part, you're going to use the strumming pattern where you're arpeggiating or aiming for certain strings. You'll use that for those parts. And then at the very end, for that last chorus and that outro, you would also use it there. And then for all the stuff in the middle, you would use that more intermediate strumming pattern that I showed you, where it covers 2 measures per pattern. When it comes to the playing along with the actual recording, I recommend trying that right now. You know, you can always just load it up on YouTube, slow it down with the gear icon in the corner, or if you're on mobile, there's like a little menu for that too. And, that's an awesome way to practice. If you want to practice with me, I have that available on my Patreon page. There's a complete playthrough of this tune from start to finish with a backing track, and you can see everything going on screen. So you're welcome to check that out. Don't forget to get your free copy of my rhythm guitar ebook. It's completely free for all my subscribers, goes over all the fundamentals. I also have a complete beginner's course, which does that like 100 times over. You know, it takes you through everything from absolute beginner to being a confident strummer. So check that out if you'd like to help support the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know down below in the comments if you have any questions. Otherwise, have a fun time practicing, and I'll see you soon.